Today I'm going to be watching this video. It's called "Why is Sweden's crime rate soaring?" One of my viewers asked me if I would watch this. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and I thought it was quite intriguing because I had no idea Sweden's crime rate would be soaring. From the videos I watched, it seems like quite a peaceful, nice place to live. So interested to see what the cause of it, see what's being done about it. You can tell me if you know about this, what you think about it. Let's watch.
This video is brought to you by Brilliant. In the past few years, Sweden has been rocked by a grim wave of gang violence. Its firearm homicide rate is now the highest in Europe, and grenade attacks in Swedish suburbs have hit the international headlines.
What? I didn't even know there was guns. Deadly assaults with a firearm. So is it legal to have a gun in Sweden? The highest in Europe? That's insane. And also, what was that? Grenades? So far there have been 134 bomb attacks in Sweden. This is 2023. 134 bomb attacks? What?
Unsurprisingly, this has become a big talking point in Swedish politics, with the left blaming it on the retreat of Sweden's welfare state and the right blaming it on immigration. So in this video, we're going to have a look at Sweden's crime crisis, its possible causes, and how it might be solved.
Yeah, that's insane. So I guess there is gang violence in Sweden as well. It's similar to the UK in places like London. You hear a lot about gangs and crime going on and all that sort of thing, but yeah, for some reason, I don't know, I just never expected it from Sweden, honestly.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So let's start by just looking at the stats. Essentially, while Sweden has relatively low rates of petty crime, in the past few years or so, the country has seen a significant spike in both sexual crimes and violent crimes, especially firearm homicides. Since 2013, Sweden's firearm homicide rate has essentially tripled, and in 2022, over 60 people were killed by guns. This means that Sweden saw more firearm homicides than the rest of Scandinavia combined, with the highest per capita rate in Europe.
That's insane, man. That's such an outlier as well. Yeah, I mean, no matter what the reason is, it's obviously something very specific, because that's quite a gradual incline or decline, whatever you want to say, whatever way you're going, but that's just such a huge difference.
Similarly, while it's come down a bit in the past few years, the fraction of Swedes self-reporting exposure to a sexual offence is more than twice as high as it was in the 2000s. The increase has been particularly acute with women, with the number of women self-reporting exposure to a sexual offence quadrupling since 2000.
There's such a big jump up there as well, what happened in 2017, man? That's such a mad jump there.
Reporting exposure to a sexual offence quadrupling since 2000. Things don't look like they've really improved this year either. In the first 10 months of 2023, there were 48 fatal shootings and 139 explosions from weapons like dynamite and hand grenades, more than in any previous year. This continuing spike in violent crime seems to be mostly driven by feuds involving a drug gang called Foxtrot, which came to prominence after European police cracked an encrypted network called EncroChat in 2020. This allowed Swedish police to essentially bring down a whole load of established drug gangs in Sweden, but this just created an opening in the market that was promptly filled by Foxtrot.
That's mad. So actually the police doing something good and stopping crime caused more crime. That's what a weird paradox that is. Give an opening. I guess there's a lot of gangs who wanted to take advantage of that. That's just very unfortunate. Of course, I mean, gangs can happen. Gangs can grow in any country, I guess, wherever they can be allowed.
Who've turned out to be probably more violent than their predecessors. Now, it's easy to overstate the severity and uniqueness of this crisis. Sweden has always had a bit of a problem with gangs, and the country has a low crime and murder rate by international standards. Nonetheless, this spike has made crime the #1 issue in Swedish politics. Polling suggests that Swedes feel less safe than ever before, and are therefore more concerned about crime in society than ever before. Crime was the biggest issue for voters at the 2022 election, with a 41% plurality of Swedes saying it was their number one issue. And in October of this year, Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson gave a rare speech to the nation outlining how his government planned to reduce the violence through increased police resources, longer sentences for convicted criminals, and new surveillance powers.
What do you think about those plans? And this is in 2023, this, I think he said, for this video. So yeah, I'd be interested to know how that's changed. That'll be pretty much like at least 2 years ago. How have things changed since then? Are they a lot better now?
Unsurprisingly, all this has sparked a debate between the Swedish left and right about both the causes and solutions to Sweden's crime crisis. In general, the left blames the gutting and privatisation of the Swedish welfare state, which used to be one of the most generous in the world. For most of the 20th century, Sweden was a model of social democracy. The left-wing Social Democrats were in power continuously from 1932 until 1976, except for a brief period in 1936 when Axel Persson Bramstorp from the Farmers League was Prime Minister. During that time, they created the Folkhemmet, or People's Home, a cradle-to-grave welfare state that was one of the most progressive in the world. Like many centre-left parties, the Social Democrats' electoral dominance really started waning in the 90s, as neoliberal ideas became increasingly mainstream and Social Democrats struggled with the economic turbulence of the 80s. Much of the Swedish welfare state was duly cut or privatised, and government spending fell from 70% of GDP down to less than 50%. The left argues that this has increased both wealth inequality and regional inequality, which has in turn increased crime. Sweden's Gini coefficient, which essentially measures income inequality, has gone from about 0.23 in the 1980s, one of the lowest, if not the lowest in the world, to 0.34 today, higher than the European average. Similarly, Sweden's regional inequality has gotten significantly worse. Swedish authorities have designated 22 extremely vulnerable areas prone to crime and violence, which often have high unemployment, low wages, and poor public services. The right, on the other hand, focus on immigration. For the last few decades, Sweden has pursued a remarkably open immigration policy and developed a reputation as a humanitarian superpower. Net migration into the country really started accelerating in the 2000s and hit a peak during the mid-2010s. Today, roughly 20% of Sweden's population, or around 2 million people, were born abroad, nearly double the EU average of 12%. A further 5% have two foreign-born parents, and about 3%, roughly 250,000 people, are refugees. As of 2020, Sweden has the 9th most refugees per capita globally, and the second highest in Europe after Malta. The right point out that the majority of violent...
Why is that actually? Because Sweden is quite... for like refugees, I think Sweden is quite far away. I guess like Britain is as well, and Britain does get a lot of immigration as well, or a lot of refugees. I wonder why Sweden, as opposed to like Norway, Finland, Denmark, the other Scandinavian Nordic countries, was it just how they were welcomed? Was it the benefits they received? Why did they choose Sweden out of those countries specifically? And yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think like the immigration is causing
crimes
these
are
issues?
committed by immigrants? Of those prosecuted for gun crimes since 2017, 85% were born abroad or had at least one parent who was.
Whoa, that's a crazy figure as well. 85% of them were foreign born, so basically just people who are not from Sweden causing a lot of gun crimes in Sweden. That seems very like unfair, and like that's something that should definitely be
And a similar
about.
fraction of gang members.
Whether you're like on the right or on the left, that's statistics, facts and figures. You can't really argue with that. It's a huge number.
Apparently have an immigrant background. This has affected how Swedes view immigration. Eurobarometer polling suggests that, in the past few years, Swedes have become increasingly wary of immigration, with the fraction of Swedes seeing immigration as mainly an opportunity falling from 45% to 31% between 2017 and 2021. At the same time, the fraction of Swedes seeing immigration as a problem has risen from 19% to 31%. Similarly, European Social Survey polling found that Swedish perceptions of immigrants hit an all-time low in 2022, with 29% of Swedes saying that they had a negative view of immigrants. As well as immigration, the right also blames Sweden's lax criminal sentencing laws, which are essentially easy on teenagers. Teenagers can only be sentenced to a maximum of 4 years for firearm homicide, which has made them ideal candidates for gangs.
What?
4 years for firearm homicide.
Firearmed homicide? That's basically killing someone with a gun. You can only get maximum of 4 years? That doesn't even make sense. Like, what? Why? Yeah, because like I don't know if that's what they were going to go on to say, but then if that's the case, the gang would just recruit people that fall into this category because they know that they can probably pay them quite a lot of money. Say, look, you just take a 4-year hit in prison. When you come out, you have all this money. All you need to do is basically kill someone. That's insane. I've never heard of a law like that. Maybe there is laws like that in other countries as well, but like how and why would that even be a thing? Like,
homicide, which has made them ideal candidates for gangs who've started using kids to carry out their crimes.
Yeah, like,
the Sweden Democrats have instead suggested that anyone over 13 should face adult penalties for severe crimes, including life in prison, and that gang members with non-Swedish backgrounds be deported. The current government has already said that they want Danish penalties for Swedish crimes, a nod to Denmark's tougher rules, and announced plans to both increase police numbers and give the police more surveillance powers. The Swedish police are clear.
Yeah, so again, like saying again, like this is 3 years ago. So specifically with that sentencing, that 4-year maximum, has that been changed since then? I would imagine it must be, but what was it changed to? Hopefully they never changed it to like 8 years or something like that. Being like, yeah, like when you're 13 years old, you're still a child, of course, but I remember when I was 13 years old, if I'm going to shoot someone, I know what I'm doing, like, but yeah, again, if they're groomed and manipulated into doing that, then it's a kind of grey area. So yeah, this is an interesting
The Swedish
debate.
police are clearly struggling. Today, only 20% of murders get solved, compared to about 80% in the past. The one thing the right and the left both agree on, though, is that Sweden hasn't done enough to integrate its migrant population. Many of those extremely vulnerable areas that the left see as a symptom of an insufficient welfare state also have large migrant populations, who end up getting stuck in a chronically poor area without integration into the rest of Swedish society. In the near term, whether Sweden can solve its crime crisis will probably depend in part on whether it can get integration right. A lot of the stuff that we talk about at TLDR can seem pretty complicated, especially...
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, like, for sure. You can kind of see both sides, like, there's no reason why both of those parties can't say, look, it's a bit immigration and it's a bit the less the lower welfare opportunities or things that people get. Like it can be both. It probably is both. That's why like sometimes the political system kind of annoys me when it is right and left. Like just work together and just stop the crime, man. Like, is it that hard to do? Like, just stop thinking, oh, but it's this, they're wrong, and then this I say, but it's this and they're wrong. Like, maybe you can both be right and wrong. Like, it doesn't really care. Stop arguing, just fix the problem. Like, again, like I'm an immigrant. From Scotland, of course, but I've lived in Asia for the last 11 years in 3 different countries. I know that for 100%, if I move to a country, I do nothing but behave the best I can. No laws will be broken. Like I've got a fear that if anything goes wrong, even if I drive incorrectly, that I could probably be deported and sent back home, and I've got family here and all that sort of thing. So when I when I move to another country and live there, I'll be the most upstanding citizen, and also I want to give a good reputation to like other British people, like, and be like a good example to set myself every day. So people should be respecting the fact that like so many gun crimes are committed by foreign-born people. That just kind of blows my mind. So yeah, complete lack of respect. But tell me what you think about this. I guess it's an interesting debate and interested to see how things have changed since this video was made in 2023. Tell me what you think. Thanks.